The wind was a constant, mournful presence outside the castle, a chorus of whispers that snaked through the arrow slits and under the great wooden doors. It carried with it the distant, echoing howls of wolves from the forest below, a sound that had become the grim soundtrack to Jonathan Harker, his imprisonment. In East's small vaulted chamber, the only light came from a single, guttering candle, its flame fighting a desperate battle against the oppressive darkness. The shadows it cast were not still. They pulsed and stretched like living things upon the ancient stone. Jonathan sat hunched at a rough-hewn table, the nib of his pen scratching frantically across the page of his diary. His hand, he noticed with distant disgust, was trembling. 3 weeks, he wrote. The words bleeding into the paper. For 21 days and nights, I have been a guest in this carrion house. The doors are barred from without. The windows look out upon a drop so profound it turns the stomach to contemplate. I am a prisoner of stone and silence. But tonight, the silence was broken by a vision from a madman's nightmare. His mind, feverish with isolation, replayed the encounter from just a few hours prior. As dusk had stained the sky, the door had opened without a sound, and Count Dracula had entered. He moved with an eerie, fluid grace, his black-clad form seeming to absorb the fading light. His eyes had gone immediately to Jonathan's one remaining suit of clothes, laid carefully over a chair to air. Your garments, Dracula had stated, his voice a low vibration in the quiet room. They have drunk the last of the sun. A cold knot had formed in Jonathan's stomach. He had not taken them outside. The Count had then glided over, taken the lapel of the coat between his pale, long-fingered hands, and raised it to his face. He inhaled deeply, his eyes closing for a moment in what looked like perverse pleasure. The scent of English wool, he had murmured, overlaid with the dust of the road, the salt of your sweat, and the faint, sweet trace of your fear. It is a potent bouquet, Mr. Harker. A signature. The memory was a cold finger tracing Jonathan's spine. Now, in the deepest well of the night, a sudden and profound sense of wrongness pulled him from his morbid recollection. It was a primal alarm, a feeling in the very marrow of his bones that the world had tilted off its axis. He pushed back from the table, the chair leg shrieking against the flagstones. Drawn by a dreadful compulsion, he crossed the cold floor to the room's lone window, a tall, narrow slit set in stone 5 feet thick. He pressed his forehead against the icy glass, peering into the abyss. At first, there was nothing but the void. Then, a shift. A patch of darkness deeper than the rest detached itself from the castle-less face and began to move. Jonathan's breath fogged the glass. He wiped it away with a frantic hand, his heart now a frantic drum against his ribs. It was the shape of a man, but this man defied all nature. He was descending the sheer, vertical cliff face of the castle wall headfirst. His body was parallel to the ground far below, his hands and feet finding purchase on invisible holds. The man's coat of familiar gray, tweed flapped and snapped in the gusting wind like a flag of surrender. A sound escaped Jonathan's lips, a whimper of pure, undiluted terror. This was not climbing, this was something else. Something insane. No, he breathed, the word a ghost on the air. Dear God, no, this is not happening. As if summoned by his denial, a tattered veil of cloud slid away from the moon. A blade of sickly, silver light fell directly upon the climber. The illumination was brief, but mercilessly clear. Jonathan's knees buckled. He gripped the stone sill to keep from falling. The figure wore his traveling suit the very one Dracula had admired, but the face turned momentarily upwards was not his own. It was the Count's. A mask of corpse-like pallor, the lips a lurid wet, red against the white skin, and the eyes they caught the moonlight and reflected it back as 2 pinpricks of smoldering crimson, like distant coals in a dead fire. The face was twisted into a smile of intense, predatory concentration, and for a fleeting second, those hellish eyes seemed to look directly up, meeting Jonathan's own through the window pane. A smile widened, revealing a flash of sharp, white teeth, transfixed by horror. Jonathan watched the monstrous parody of himself scuttle down the precipice with a speed that was utterly grotesque. The creature's fingers, tipped with nails that were long, thick, and dark like claws, dug into minute crevices between the stones. Its toes, still encased in Jonathan's own boots, curled over impossible ledges with the prehensile grip of a bat. It moved with a horrible, confident grace, a spider claiming its web. Every rational thought shattered. This was not a man. This was something that wore the skin of a man, something that had crawled from a tomb and learned to mimic the living. "He's leaving," Jonathan whispered, the realization dawning with the weight of a tombstone. "He's going out into the world. Wearing my skin, what will he do? What crime will he commit? With my face smiling at the witnesses." Revulsion and panic finally broke his paralysis. He staggered back from the window, a cry strangling in his throat. He lunged for the heavy oak door of his room, grabbing the iron ring handle with both hands, throwing his whole weight against it. It did not budge a fraction. The lock was a solid, unfeeling thing. He turned and ran to the other door, the one that connected to the Count's private chambers, pounding on it with his fists until they ached. "Let me out," he screamed, his voice raw and breaking. "Do you hear me?" Only the echo of his own desperation answered. He was entombed. While he raged in his gilded cage, the monster was free, wearing his identity like a stolen cloak. "The thaw of Mina!" Her sweet face lighting up at the sight of him. Of to sting was an agony more piercing than any physical pain. The hours that followed were a slow descent into a waking nightmare. He paced the confines of his room until his legs burned, his mind a whirlwind of dreadful scenarios. He stood sentinel at the window, staring into the blackness until his eyes blurred, waiting for the horror to return. The night stretched on, an eternity of cold and fear, when the first feeble hint of dawn began to leach the black from the sky, turning it to a dull, heartless gray. The silence was broken by the soft, precise click of the lock. The door swung inward without a sound. Count Dracula stood on the threshold, backlit by the gloom of the outer corridor. He was still impeccably dressed in Jonathan Harker's stolen suite, but the transformation was stark. The clothes, once neat, were now disheveled. The collar of the shirt was twisted, and there, on the crisp white cotton, were ugly, rust-brown stains. More stains, dark and wet, blotched the cuffs and speckled the front of the waistcoat. The Count himself seemed invigorated, almost vibrantly alive. His pale skin held a faint, treacherous glow, and his eyes were bright, clear, and depthless. A single, dark droplet clung to the corner of his mouth. As he stepped into the room, Jonathan caught a faint, coppery smell, cutting through the usual musty odor of old stone to smell of blood. Jonathan could only stare, his gaze locked on the defilement of his own garments. The evidence of some terrible, nocturnal deed was written there in bold, crimson strokes. "You look unwell, my friend," Dracula said, his voice a silken rumble that filled the small space. He made a show of adjusting the blood-stained cuffs. "A restless night, perhaps. The Carpathian winds can disturb the soul." "Those are my clothes, Jonathan," sighed the words scraping from a dry throat. "You are covered in filth. Filth." The Count looked down, examining a stain with what seemed like academic interest. "No, this is life, the very essence of it. And the clothes. They serve their purpose. They carry your authority, your history. They are a key that unlocks doors barred to a stranger." He took a slow step forward, and Jonathan instinctively retreated until his back met the cold wall. "You witnessed my departure, I think. You saw the wall concede to my will. You are an abomination." Jonathan spat, a final spark of defiance. Dracula's smile this time was a terrifying thing, devoid of all warmth, a mere stretching of skin over bone. An old word for an old thing. "I am a fact of this world, Mr. Harker. One your science refuses to name, and now we are intimately connected. I am your Echo. Your very face is now a mask I can wear." He leaned closer, and the chill that radiated from him was that of the deep earth. "You speak of theft. I speak of inheritance. Soon, I will walk the crowded streets of your London. I will shake hands with your colleagues. I will kneel beside your beloved Mina, and she will see only you, smell only your scent on this coat. She will welcome me into her heart and her home. never knowing the truth that knocks upon her door. The full, grotesque plan unfolded in Jonathan's mind with chilling clarity. He was not just to die. He was to be erased and replaced. His life, his love, his very identity were being consumed. With a last, lingering look that seemed to drink in Jonathan's despair, Dracula turned. He paused at the door. "Rest. Now you have a part to play yet." The captive lends credence to the traveler. The door closed softly. The key turned once, twice, securing his fate. Jonathan slid down the wall to the floor, all strength gone. After a long while, he crawled to the window. The sun was fully risen now, casting long shadows over the wild, beautiful, and terrifying landscape. His eyes scanned the distant tree line, and there was it as frayed nerves. Or did he see a swift, dark figure, a gray speck against the green, moving with unnatural speed into the depths of the forest until it was swallowed whole? He dragged himself to the table, to the open diary. The pen felt like a lead weight. He dipped it in the ink, now almost dry, and began to write, the letters shaky and stark. "Dawn has come. I write this now, knowing it may be my final entry within these cursed walls. I am no longer a prisoner. A prisoner hopes for release. I am a ghost, a man already dead, whose body has not yet been informed. My life has been plundered, my face copied by a master forger from hell. And the worst horror of all is this: he is out there now, wearing me, and the world will embrace him as its own.